This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
That's number one. You kind of reset me.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandy and Amir. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandy Rashidian is my other half, partner in crime. And the one I get to argue with sometimes about certain things. We'll tell you what that was about. But the Real Health Podcast is brought to you by the Frederick Podcast Network, found on listenfrederick.com. And the Real Health Podcast is where we take information, latest news and article information in mainstream media. We break it down. We tell you what it means, what the research means, how to apply it to your life. We'll give you the wellness, non-surgical and drugless perspective that we have, and our hope and our goal is to help you feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. So how you feeling?
Feeling good.
Cool. So we have so much to talk about today, so we're going to jump right in. But just to preview, we're going to talk about why women live longer than men, but they're actually less healthy. We'll talk about some of the things that go along with hormone replacement after menopause. We'll talk about some fitness trends and CrossFit. We probably won't have time for this, but we have articles about toothpaste ingredients and ear pain, earaches, the different types of earaches and what to do with them. RFK Jr. is back in the news with some vaccine stuff, as well as how he wants to reduce the chemicals in foods that are deemed as generally safe. He doesn't want them generally safe. He wants them definitely safe. Anyways, there's a few more things, but the one thing we were talking about, and I think we'll make this a different podcast, was we had a big giant argument just a second ago before we started recording about placebos.
He calls it an argument. I call it a healthy debate.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, we're still married, so it's not like it wasn't a fight, but there's definitely disagreement about what I think a placebo is and what Brandy thinks a placebo is. So that may be a fun, spirited conversation.
I don't even think it's here. I'm going to argue with you now. Fine. I don't even think it's about what we think a placebo is or what it's for. I think our discussion and our debate is around something different, which is how the brain expresses certain pain or certain ailments, maybe. Some may, and my argument was maybe some of those are created by the brain and they don't actually exist as the body is expressing them. And so therefore we're taking something that doesn't really have any, in and of itself, has no impact on health at all, and we give it to someone, and then it impacts whatever their expression of health is or illness at the time. And I'm saying we're taking something that in and of itself has no therapeutic value whatsoever. It's whatever the mind deems that it has therapeutic benefit. So it's not just about the placebo itself. It's about what it's fixing, how it's fixing, and it doesn't work across the board. So we actually don't fully understand, but it is a conversation for another day. I'm excited about that debate or conversation. Didn't call it a debate.
Well, I'll save my comments to everything you just said for that day.
Going to be a good one.
Yeah. Well, New York Times says, why do women live longer than men? By understanding the reasons, scientists hope to help both sexes age better. In the United States, women have a life expectancy of about 80 compared to around 75 for men. So maybe that's why men marry younger women.
I think there's probably many reasons for that. Probably not just that.
No one gets married thinking about death. I'm just kidding. But this holds true regardless of where women live, how much money they make, and many other factors. It's even true for most other mammals. So even in animals, the female lives longer than the male. It's a very robust phenomenon all over the world. Totally conserved in sickness, during famines, during epidemics, even during times of starvation. So how is that different from famine? Famine and starvation, aren't they the same thing?
I think famine can lead to starvation.
Oh, got it. Okay. And the fact that, but does famine lead to other things besides starvation that makes women live long? Anyways, women live longer through famines and through starvation. Eh, the fact that they are outliving men doesn't necessarily mean they're living better. Women tend to have a shorter health span than, which is the number of healthy years a person lives, than men. So their number of years of healthy life are less, but their overall lifespan is more.
Although if y'all lived longer, maybe the stats would be different. We don't know that. y'all are exiting too early for us to know.
Yeah, but it's counting the number of healthy years.
Yeah, I get that.
So even in a shorter lifespan, the male number of years that they're healthy are more than women, even though women live longer.
Well, it's probably because women are spending their entire lives caring for the people around them. So, and we know just from what we see coming into the offices that women don't always put themselves first. They put their husbands first, they put their kids first, they put their parents first, whoever it is, because they end up being the main caretaker. So
Right. Well, and that's the thing, is maybe it's a divine plan for them to live longer.
I mean, on the flip side, what I think is really interesting is that when a spouse, when a husband is widowed and he is left, he does not survive long.
Yeah.
So the amount of time men live after their spouse dies is extremely short. Women, on the other hand,
They live a long time.
a very
after,
long
yeah.
time after. So
Oh yeah, we know many people like that. Women are generally more physical. This is not my opinion. Please don't get mad at me. It says women are generally more physically frail than men in old age. They're also more vulnerable, particularly after menopause, to developing cardiovascular issues and Alzheimer's disease.
well, I mean, we grow humans with our bodies. You
Yeah.
guys don't. And so the amount of stress and the amount of nutrition that has to exit our body,
Yeah.
not only to grow this human, but to then care for it afterwards,
You know,
it's
one
no
of the
wonder.
leading causes of osteoporosis is
What?
nursing.
Yeah, I believe it.
And I think it's because while women are nursing, they're also trying to lose their fat because they gain weight during pregnancy. And I think that's a big, giant mistake.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like, I look back and weight has always been a big issue, even from when I was younger. I don't remember that being at the top of even for me, being at the top of my mind once I got rid of the baby, once I had the baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, while I think it is there.
I'm just talking because a lot of our patients, after they deliver, I hear them talking about losing the baby weight.
Right. Well, and you hear nursing actually helps to
It does.
get rid of the baby
You burn
weight
an
and
extra
things like
600
that.
calories a day
It's a lot.
nursing.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know, that's 6 hours on 6 hours of jogging. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
It's a lot.
it's no joke.
Good thing we don't have to do it jogging. That would be hard.
Too much movement. A growing body of research suggests that the XX set of female sex chromosomes, which along with other chromosomes carry our DNA, may impact longevity, though it's not clear exactly how. For example, a 2018 study conducted by Dr. Fabul's lab looked at genetically manipulated mice with different combinations of sex chromosomes and reproductive organs. Those with two X chromosomes and ovaries lived longest, followed by mice with two X chromosomes and testes. Mice can have two X chromosomes and testicles.
Very interesting. I don't even know what to do with that.
Do you know what they give a Tickle Me Elmo doll before it leaves the factory?
I do. They may not.
2 testicles.
You've really been waiting for an opportunity
Tickle
for that
me,
one.
Tickle Me Elmo.
I do.
But that's not as good of a joke anymore because that's not a thing anymore. So you got to be older to know what the Tickle Me Elmo doll is.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody even watches Sesame Street anymore.
Yeah, it's a little sad. Is it still on? I
It's
think
on.
It's still on.
It's on because the U.S. aid, I believe, spent like $100 million to generate Sesame Street in a Arab country or something.
Oh, interesting.
So anyway, it was in the news.
at least it's in the
Anyways,
Arab
mice with XY chromosomes had shorter lifespans. So I guess mice can have testes with two X chromosomes. I know there's a genetic thing in men or in humans where you can have XXY, like two X's and a Y.
What's that do?
I'd rather not talk about it. Mainly because I'm not sure.
We're gonna leave that for another episode.
Yeah. You guys can
That
look it
even
up.
made Sean smile. Oh, that too. That's funny.
We lost power. So there was something about the second X chromosome that was protecting the mice from dying earlier in life, even if they had testes. The findings could be similar in people. Epigenetic factors like environmental or lifestyle elements like climate or chronic stress can impact which genes are expressed and how. And that may play a role in lifespan. So
What? Do
yeah.
you mean we could have genes that are not activated? They're just sitting there waiting for the right, like, poking and prodding to turn on?
Yeah, like I have a genius gene. I've never activated it.
I don't know about that. I just think that's I wish more people would dive into epigenetics because I think epigenetics takes a lot of the fear factor away from genetics. Right? How many patients do we see every week that we engage in a conversation? They go, well, my dad had that and his dad had that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so don't have that.
Yeah.
Like, choose not to have that.
Like we have an article on melatonin. It says people who have gout have had it since childhood, but they didn't have a single gout attack until they got older.
Right. Which probably was triggered by what? Poor diet,
Right.
lack of
And if cancer
movement,
is purely genetic and your genes are the same today as they were when you were 2 years old,
then we'd all have it.
why didn't the 2-year-old have the same cancer as the 55-year-old?
Correct. Yeah.
Hormones. Researchers are also investigating the role of sex hormones like estrogen in longevity and are especially interested in the effect they have on immune system. There's decent data showing that at least before menopause, the female immune system tends to be better, more on it, and better able to mount responses. In general, you're going to love this one, but this is an absolute fact. In general, males tend to do much worse in response to infection, which in turn could shorten their lifespans. They're also more likely than women to die of sepsis. Literally, when a man catches a cold, they are not functional.
I know. We call that man cold.
Man cold. That's
We're
right.
all aware that
There's a wing of the hospital dedicated to men who catch just a simple cold.
Yeah, you guys are so
But
cute.
now,
Boop. I just booped all of you.
scientifically proven, it's actually when men have it, it feels worse than women because women are stronger.
I mean, that is truth.
It's proof right there.
But it's so silly to even see that printed anywhere. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, it just gives us more excuse to act like babies. When next time I catch a cold, you'll see. I'll be like, I told you,
Ladies,
I'm a man. This is
you
much harder.
you can crop this portion out and don't let your husbands listen to this. We do not need to give them any
I'm
more
just
ammo.
reporting on data here.
Yeah.
That's why, like, when I catch a cold, I should take a couple weeks off from everything, rest. All right. One 2017 analysis found that women who experienced menopause later in life, over age 50, lived longer than those who experienced it earlier. When estrogen levels drop, such as during menopause, women's immune systems seem to weaken. And women tend to catch up to or surpass men in terms of developing diseases that were less common before menopause. So then there's lifestyle and behavior. Women are generally less likely than men to smoke or drink heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I thought didn't we report an article that was changing? That used to be the old thing, and now oh no, it was age. It used to be younger people drank very heavy, and now it seems
It's
like
flipping.
middle age is drinking heavier than young people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Where I would like to see more stats on that, to be quite honest, because you look at, like, I've been thinking back to like the 70s and 80s. Yes, I was alive then. Thank you. And we were talking about how movies are so vastly, like, we'll watch a movie with our kids and go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was in there. Especially a lot of stuff about sex and drugs and whatnot. And we forget we were coming out of the sexual revolution, right? So I wonder if, like, in the 80s, it really seemed like middle-aged people drinking and smoking was like so culturally the norm. Do you know? So I
yeah,
wonder, in which I'm sure there's an ebb and flow,
yeah, I'm sure it is.
over the years, but
Women also tend to practice more health promoting behavior like wearing a seatbelt or going to doctor for annual checkups.
sorry, that's funny.
Women are more likely than men to socialize, protecting them from the detrimental effects of social isolation and loneliness.
That's real.
A 2023 analysis found they're also less likely to die by drug overdose or suicide.
Because we're
Social.
around people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Socializing there. Remember superagers? We reported on this, like, I don't know, episode 50 or something.
Yeah. I don't remember what episode. I don't keep that track of
Well,
this.
I don't either, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Months ago, maybe a year ago. But anyways, we talked about how superagers were people in their 80s that actually have better memory. They
Right.
maintain their memory, and it had nothing to do with like body function, but just mental.
Yeah.
And the only thing they had in common was better social interaction,
Yeah.
better relationships.
I mean, we know it impacts the immune system. We know, like, there's so many things
Yeah.
that it impacts
Same with
positively.
cancer survivors.
Mm-hmm.
When someone gets cancer,
Yep.
if the whole family flies in and surrounds them and gives them love and hope and strength, those people overcome cancer way better than the person who thinks they're alone,
Yeah, absolutely.
regardless of severity or stage of the cancer or the drug.
And those that reject the doctor's not so great foresight in their,
You mean when the doctor predicts?
yeah,
So like they say, you have 3 months to live.
I hate that.
Yeah,
That comes from somebody who lived in a perpetual state of 6 months, because
right.
the doctors for my mother did that. And every 6 months, they gave her 6 months to live. It's really hard to live 6 months at a time.
I can only imagine.
So,
Considering you were 4 years old when you found out, right?
Yeah.
3?
3.
4.
Mhm.
On a broader social level, issues like war or gun violence disproportionately impact men.
Well, of course.
So yeah, I mean I don't know if that's enough to reduce the average, because the percentage of
depends on the
people who
war.
die in war is not a lot now,
Right. But we're talking historically.
and we're
Those
talking
numbers are
worldwide.
big.
So maybe okay, so during the COVID pandemic, men died at higher rates than women. Research showed that they were more likely to hold jobs that exposed them to the virus, like food preparation or construction, or to be homeless or incarcerated, all of which affected mortality rates. Ultimately, it's a combination of all these factors. It's not yet clear how significantly longevity would be impacted by changing those behaviors. So they're saying they're saying these are the behaviors that lead to that, but if we change
Yeah.
those behaviors, we don't know if it'll increase our lifespan.
Yeah. I did a little bit of digging. I was just curious. But it says that the oldest living person as of 2025 is Canabaro Lucas, 116 years old. Sorry, Ina Canabaro Lucas. I probably butchered that. And the oldest living man is 112. His name is Ju Nitu. So, very interesting. And the oldest verified living woman outside of biblical records was 122 for men, for the oldest verified man outside of biblical was 116. So
There you go.
I thought that was really interesting. So
It
the
is.
oldest living person was Methuselah at 969 years old, according to Genesis 5:27. I thought that was really, that's old. Can you imagine living 900 years?
Yeah. No, I actually can't imagine.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Well, a lot of our elderly patients I talk to, and I say, you're doing a good job. You're going to live a long time. And they always say, but I don't want all my friends to be gone.
Yeah,
And so my answer is, why aren't your friends here doing the same thing you're doing?
correct. Right.
Tell them how to get healthy so they can live a long life too. I mean, I think life is a gift.
It is.
It's a precious gift. That's why they call it the present,
Yep.
because we get to live in the
Absolutely.
present. We need to be. And
Well, and I think the other thing I would say is can always continue to build your tribe, your people around you,
yeah,
right? You shouldn't have the same 15 people that you've had all your life. That's okay to have them also, but you should be engaging with people around you so that you can build new relationships and friendships, because you don't know what lies in those. Like, it can be very, very rewarding. So for either person.
you learn more about who you are every time you meet a new person,
Oh yeah.
because every new person brings something out in you that you didn't know was there. Same with learning foreign languages,
Yeah, that's fascinating.
because you learn you can communicate with words that don't exist in the other language, so you can
Yeah.
express yourself so much better when you have two languages.
Well, we
three
just read that
languages.
article a week or two ago, which was about
Kids who have autism do
Yes.
better when they know multiple languages.
absolutely because they're better at reading facial,
Yeah.
facial.
That could be like one of those placebo things. Like what does learning a language have to do with being autistic?
Right.
But it affects them because it's making their brain work better.
Yeah, but you're actually creating synapses. You're
Yeah.
learning.
Well, that's
Different.
the thing. I think even a placebo can cause those things. You can take a placebo and create synapses and neurotransmitters, produce more hormones. You can wake up organs in your body that had been dormant.
It's pretty cool.
So, thinking about menopause, hormone therapy, start here. And I'm not going to read a bunch of this article, but some of it is important. In a study published in September, researchers found that only 5% of menopausal women used hormones in 2020, despite the fact that roughly 80% of women experience symptoms. So very few people are using hormone replacement therapy these days. A growing number of... Now, if that was men, I think the number would be flipped. I guarantee you more men use testosterone replacement therapy today than
Sure.
ever before. And it's such a normal... There's testosterone clinics everywhere.
Yeah. Well, yes, that is very true. There's also, there were the old study, the most famous one that was done that was actually stopped in 2002, when it came to hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah, that's right here.
For women. Yeah, and I don't think they don't really go much into like why, but part of the reason that study was stopped is because it appeared that there were an increased risk of cancers and things like that for the women over it was supposed to be an 8.5 year study. I think they got up to like year 5, 4.5
Yeah.
or 5. But the challenge is they were using is it called the conjugated hormone
I believe so.
replacement? So, which basically they were extracting from horse urine. So that's the conjugated one that they were using. And it wasn't identical to what our body would create. So now they have the bioidentical ones that they're creating from plant sources, which are identical, they say, to what our body produces. So I would like to see another study done just using the bioidentical ones to really see, because it feels like if we have something identical to what our body produces and it can help balance things and get our body doing what it's supposed to do, it doesn't seem like it should produce a negative outcome. But
Yeah.
when you're using something that is not identical I'm not surprised. Like, it's not what your body would create. Why do you think that you're going to be able to slip that on through and everything's going to be fine? Our bodies are smarter than that.
That's true. Menopausal hormone therapy, or MHT, supplies some of the estrogen and progesterone lost in menopause. The FDA has approved dozens of types of therapies and have been shown to alleviate a narrow set of symptoms, including vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats, genitourinary syndrome, which refers to painful sex, vaginal dryness, and urinary tract infections. Hormone therapy can also be used to prevent postmenopausal bone loss. There are two broad categories of hormone treatment: systemic, in which the hormones can affect the whole body, and local, which are applied just to the private part. Systemic estrogen on its own can lead to a thickening of the uterine lining, which increases the risk of endometrial cancer. Women who have had their uterus removed can safely use estrogen alone, but others need to take some form of progesterone as well to counter its effects. Local treatments are lower dose estrogen and are mainly intended to address symptoms like vaginal dryness and pain during intercourse. And menopausal hormone therapy isn't approved to treat the dozens of other menopausal symptoms, such as these. This is what was interesting, right? They're saying depression, anxiety, frozen shoulder, weight gain, or hair loss are all postmenopausal symptoms.
I was surprised about the frozen shoulder. That one was.
And weight gain. I didn't know women gain weight after menopause.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, your hormones are, if they're out of whack.
Right.
Like, I mean, I think about how out of whack my hormones were, like during and then after we had the kids, because we had to do fertility treatment with the first two. And look at how much weight I gained after Navid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think I would not be surprised. And I'm just comparing like that season versus,
Sure.
my menopausal season. Yes, I'm there. I'm post there.
Well, maybe you can join this society called the Menopausal Society.
No, thank you.
So the Menopausal Society, which sets treatment guidelines, noted in its annual position statement that some patients who start hormone therapy do see small improvements in some of those symptoms too. This is kind of like that headache foundation or whatever. Remember?
Yes.
The Menopause Society. Do you have to be in menopause to join the society? I wonder. I wonder if there's men in the Menopause Society, and I wonder if they get,
Well,
yelled at by the women all the time.
I mean, men is a part of menopause, so maybe they slid their way in there.
Men are certainly affected by it.
Some.
Earlier versions of FDA-approved hormone therapy, which are still available today, contain what is called conjugated estrogen, derived from the urine of pregnant horses, while the products that are more commonly prescribed today, also approved by the FDA, contain what is called bioidentical estrogen, which is derived from plant sources and has a more similar molecular structure to the hormones that the body creates. So we don't yet have a detailed understanding of how their risks and benefits differ.
And then I laugh because there are no quality studies comparing conjugated head to head with bioidentical. And you go, why not? Like, you're prescribing this crap all the time. Why would you not do that study? I do not understand medical research whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, we waste so much time and money on things that don't matter.
Well, and when we get to the article about the because the administration ordered the CDC to do a study on vaccine and autism link.
Yeah.
And everyone's saying that those studies have already been done. We don't need to waste money on it, and this is a waste of time and taxpayer dollars and all that stuff. It's kind of the same debate on what research should they do and what research shouldn't they do. Well,
but we majority of us know that the prior studies that were done on vaccines, we can't we cannot know that they've given us all of them. First and foremost, there's no way. We know that with they can do 1,000 studies and they have one that has a good result, and that's the one that they publicize.
I think you have to have three positive outcomes.
But you know what I'm saying. So whether it's one, whether it's three, but they may do hundreds that have
They can throw away the studies that didn't show favorable results and only submit the ones that did have favorable results.
So that's the kind of stuff that kind of bothers me a little bit. And I go, well, do we know that from our research, or do we just know that from the research that you're willing to publicize? Like, that's been the issue, is that they keep, hammering misinformation when they themselves don't provide all of the data for all of us to look at. Because I don't know if they think we're not smart enough, we're not educated enough. I'm not sure why they won't just provide every single study that's done and then let some of us make our own decisions on what we want to take and what we don't want to take, what's okay and what's not okay, what's safe and not safe.
I agree.
I don't trust them.
Well, hormone therapy is not recommended for women with a history of stroke, heart attacks, blood clots, liver disease, unexplained vaginal bleeding, or estrogen-sensitive cancers like those of the breast or uterus, as it might make those conditions worse. The landmark Women's Health Initiative study, which was, and this is the one you talked about, which was and still is the only long-term, large randomized trial of hormone therapy, was prematurely halted in 2002 because researchers found that the treatment elevated the risks for breast cancer and cardiovascular events. The study created widespread panic that led to women abandoning their treatments. Since then, however, researchers have reanalyzed the data, and follow-up studies have found a more nuanced picture. Dose, delivery method, and the age when therapy is initiated all make a big difference to the risks. And in many cases, the benefits, including an improved quality of life, can outweigh the risks, according to the study. And among symptomatic women younger than 60, the reanalyzed WHI data showed that out of every 10,000 women using hormone therapy, there were 6 additional cases of breast cancer, though not breast cancer-related deaths, and 5 additional cases of coronary heart disease and stroke. So out of 10,000, you had six breast cancers, none of whom died, and 5 heart disease and stroke.
Right. And again, it's just the conjugated, it's not the bioidentical.
Right. So even that didn't seem as awful. Hormone therapy significantly reduced the risks of fractures, all-cause mortality, and diabetes. For women taking estrogen alone, studies have consistently found that hormone therapy reduced breast cancer and cardiovascular risks, a finding that is still not fully understood.
The only thing I don't love about this article is it makes me feel like we're talking about menopause as if it's a disease.
It's not. It's like some people treat pregnancy as a disease.
Yeah, and it bothers me because I'm like, this is just a season of life that we're walking into, right? We've done our job in our childbearing years, and now our body is ready to shift to the next season. I think if we looked at it like that and said, what do we need to do for ourselves in order to support this next season? Because it's a different season. Our body needs different things. And depending on what we did to it in the first season, we may have some healing and some other things that we need to do to support it in this next season. I don't think it has to be as horrible and painful and as we make it out to be.
Well,
I know mine wasn't.
Right. They're saying untreated menopause symptoms have been linked to long-term chronic health conditions later in life, including neurodegenerative disease, though it is still unclear if the symptoms cause the poor health or if they are markers of another underlying problem.
And that makes me mad. I don't even like that.
But a lot of older people get neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. So
Yeah.
how can you say it's related to menopause?
Right. There were some studies that actually say if a woman has gets pregnant with a boy and then breastfeeds, there's some protective hormone that actually is excreted and it protects the brain from Alzheimer's. So now you have to go, well, are we talking about women who birthed boys or birth girls, and then how many boys versus how many girls? Like there's so many things. We look at something in one or two dimensions when there's so many different things we need to look at and we think we have the answer.
Yeah.
I think in doing so, we complicate it.
And I mean, it's a ridiculous statement to begin with. There's no way you could ever link the two together. Everybody's always said, oh, it's old age that leads to Alzheimer's, but then they're like, oh, it's the beta amyloid plaques that build up. It's because you don't sleep properly during your other years and stuff. Now they're saying, oh, menopause can lead to Alzheimer's also. But first off, menopause is not something you can circumvent.
Nope.
I choose no menopause.
Good luck with it.
I refuse to well, there are people who are refusing to go through puberty. So maybe there's menopause blocker drugs that they'll come up with, and so then women
Do not
can't
give them any idea.
transition into menopause. Goodness gracious, we're using big words here. This is we're gonna get in trouble for that one.
Sean's gonna have fun editing this.
Yeah, well,
What are you gonna have to bleep out, Sean?
the attorneys are turning over. All right. Yeah, but I mean, just like puberty is a natural thing, we shouldn't even call them symptoms, because symptoms is only a disease thing.
How about an expression?
Yeah.
It's an expression of
Expression of health.
yes.
Just like a fever is an expression of your health. When you have an infection, you have a fever, it means you're
So
healthy.
is a cough.
So is vomiting.
Yeah.
Sneezing.
Diarrhea. Nobody likes it.
Farting.
That's definitely an expression of something. Okay, we've taken a turn. And Sean's hiding, so I don't know if it's a good turn or not. All right.
No comment.
Let's talk about some fitness trends.
Let's do it.
Because it's getting nice out. People are like, okay, they're getting motivated, right? It's like time. They can see the sun. They want to get out, get their vitamin D because they know it's important. I was encouraging them.
There's this word called misinformation. It says fitness advice on social media can be littered with misinformation and impossible promises. It's wise to steer clear of any fitness plan that promises a quick and easy fix. Focus on finding movements you enjoy and building a regular habit rather than the latest miracle workout. I mean, but what if your favorite movement is cozy cardio that we reported on from TikTok ages 2 years ago?
And let's just remind everyone that it's the culture that's been created that wants a quick fix to everything. That's what all the big pharma has built their business off of. All of it is take this pill, you get this. Take this pill, you get skinny. Take this pill, you won't have to worry about your heart anymore. Take this pill, you won't have to. You can run and still your blood pressure isn't going to go up. We're going to just keep it down
Now
for you.
they're saying do any movement you want and consider that a fitness activity.
Like, can we just stop the swinging of the pendulum, please? We go from one extreme to another, and it's absolutely ridiculous. I hated this article.
There's movements that I do in the gym that I don't find enjoyable, but they produce results that I do find enjoyable.
We were doing the founders thing on at the gym this week, and we had a lot of people watching us.
Foundation training.
Yeah.
I stand at that one spot and do it twice a week.
Yeah.
So they were like,
Well, maybe
oh,
they were just looking at me.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're like, oh, it's that woman from the podcast. 'Cause she's doing it with this guy. Who is he? Those are weird movements they're doing. It's a 12-minute yoga series, series of yoga poses that strengthen your lower back. So what does it say? Goodness. Skip the 75 hard challenge. You remember that the 75
yeah,
hard?
our friend Ken.
Actually, I have a lot of people who do it.
Yeah, but we first heard about it from Ken.
That's
and
right.
and it was years ago.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really funny that they're like the viral 75 hard that took hold last year. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah, this is nothing new.
that's been around for like
Yeah.
ever.
It says last year. It's ridiculous. It's been around for years and years. The key. Some of you hopefully knew what the 75 hard is. It was basically 75 days of hard exercise to get your body in shape. The key to mental and physical toughness, its proponents claimed, was following a set of daily rules for 75 days, work out twice for 45 minutes, maintain a strict diet, drink a gallon of water, and read at least 10 pages of nonfiction, among other things. While the idea of transforming yourself in 75 days might sound appealing, the challenge is extremely unsustainable.
Well, that's why you're just supposed to do it for
So is-
75 days.
Come on, so is boot camp for a Marine.
Right.
Or
We are getting so soft as
they
a
don't stay
culture.
in boot camp forever. They go through boot camp and they graduate and then they go on to other things.
That's what this is,
That's what this
Talia.
is. So oh yeah, Talia is her name.
Yeah.
I wonder
Mintzberg.
I wonder where she went to school. No, see, I wonder what kind of workouts she does. She probably takes a stroll.
Cozy
outside.
cardio.
Yeah, with her latte.
I mean, here's the reality. Number one, you have to be able to do something consistently in order to see results. Consistency is key. That's why they're doing it for 75 days.
Yeah.
Is to go beyond even what that one, like they say you can create a habit in 30 days, right? So this is like, let's take these really great things. And I'm not saying it's extreme. I didn't do the 75 hard because I didn't want to. It wasn't for me, but I don't think it's terrible.
I don't think it's terrible either. And plenty of people do it for 75 days. Then they slow down and do something else.
Yeah.
And then I actually know some people who do 75 days once a year.
Right. And I keep laughing that they keep going, all these experts are like, it's extremely unsustainable. It's not supposed to be sustainable for the rest of your life.
Right.
Jack, it's supposed to
Yeah,
just be for that number of days.
It's like the person who says, all I do is jog. And I go, okay, but then you hit a plateau, right? Because you can't, so when you start jogging, say you're going to jog 3 miles a day every day, you lose some weight, but you're going to reach a point where you can jog 3 miles a day and you won't lose weight. So you have to actually jog 4 miles now to
Right.
lose a little more weight. You have to,
It's called
and not
adaptability.
eat more. It's adaptability. It's called the bodybuilding efficiency and resilience to the stress you put on it. So that's why progressive overload works. So you have to figure out how to override it. So what's the goal then? To eventually run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Just get out there and jog like Forrest Gump.
Come on, that's extremely
stop.
unsustainable,
Because even
Dr.
Forrest
Amir.
Gump stopped after 2.5 years.
What I did think was great about the challenge, which is something that a lot of other programs don't do, though, is not only are they telling you you need to work out, you need to drink a gallon of water, which is great, stay with the strict diet, which is going to be like no sugar. It's, it's the hard stuff. And then, but they also have you read 10 pages of nonfiction a day. Like there are other things that feed the mind
And
also.
do you know that one of your 2 workouts has to be outside?
Yeah.
So you have to get sunlight.
So
I don't think there's anything wrong with 75 hard. I don't know what this woman is talking about.
She's
She goes,
crazy.
exercising twice a day, especially if you are new to working out. I go, okay, so
what person new to working out is going to jump on 75 hard to begin with?
right. And listen, if they're new, for them it'll be hard, but they're not going to do the things that's hard for someone who's been training for years and years.
Right.
She said, is a good way to injure yourself and to create completely unrealistic expectations around exercise. To build a healthy exercise habit, start simply and find an activity that you enjoy enough to practice consistently. If you have a specific fitness goal, consider hiring a coach. Well, that's good advice. Or a personal trainer who can work with you to develop an individualized plan.
We agree with that.
Don't be fooled by targeted weight loss workouts.
Oh my
Whether
gosh.
it's a side plank or a flat stomach or Pilates for toned arms, TikTok and Instagram are brimming with videos that claim there is one move or workout that will help you lose weight in one area of your body. And they call that spot reduction. while you can strengthen different muscle groups by working different parts of your body, you cannot target where you lose weight.
Here's what I appreciate, though. I appreciate that our culture is now bombarded with various workouts and healthy eating. While some of them may not be correct, while some of them may make claims, if you actually think anything you do is going to have an impact in one specific area or immediately, then you're really not you're not being realistic in your thinking as it is. So that's a whole other topic. Like, I don't nothing you do is going to be instantaneous. So let this just be the news flash, I guess. And
Everything
now
takes time.
everything takes time, but go in and try some of these different things. There's nothing wrong with trying some of the different workouts. Find something.
Stick with it long enough to see some results.
Yeah. Anything you do over time is going to make an impact.
Yeah. And listen, if fat loss is the goal, they say fat loss takes place in the kitchen and the dining room, not in the gym. And I think that's true. But you need to build muscle, you need to build strength, you need to have healthier joints. So there's many different things. And this one says she wants you to work out twice a week. Practice a full body strength training routine twice a week. And I go, okay, well, yeah, for a beginner, twice a week is more than enough. But at some
I don't think
point,
it's more than enough. I think you could get by with that.
it's plenty. Yeah, it's twice a week. You train your whole body twice a week. You'll see results if you've never worked out before. But if you've worked out before, you do twice a week, you're not going to see results. Steer clear of what I can eat in a day videos. Or what I eat in a day videos. Many fitness influencers share detailed videos of their meals and snacks, often including calorie counts, and protein breakdown. They often promote diets that don't fit everyone's needs. This is very, very true. Back in the day, I was in my early 30s or late 20s. I think it was early 30s, and I picked up a book that was written by Ronnie Coleman, one of the greatest bodybuilders all time, and he had his diet in there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna eat like Ronnie Coleman.
Did you gain some weight?
Ballooned up to 200 pounds, and it was all fat because I wasn't lifting like he was. I wasn't exercising like he was.
Right.
I didn't have the muscle mass that he had. Just like Michael Phelps during training for the Olympics, he would eat 6,000 calories a day.
Right.
6,000 calories a day. I am struggling to get like 3,000 calories in.
Right.
So,
yeah,
don't follow other people's. You need to have someone determine what your macros are,
But use it as a gauge. Like, there's nothing wrong with going, how does this person eat?
Yeah.
Right? No, your macros will be different for sure.
Right.
But if you go, oh, I saw one of the big things that this person did was they removed sugar out of their diet. I could do that.
Right.
Right. That's a great thing to do. So yes, don't go and look at all these different people and try to mimic exactly what they've done for
Right.
yourself, but look at the trends that all of these people are doing.
So find someone who is where you want to be, and also has been where you are today.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So we're all different, right? So for example, let's say I want my body fat percentage to go from, I don't know, 15% down to below 10%. So I'm going to find someone who had 15% body fat and now has less than 10% body fat. And I'm not going to say, what are you doing now? I'm going to say, what did you do when you had 15% body fat? And see if that makes sense. Then I'll do what that person did to get the results that they got, so I can get the same results.
Agreed.
Those posts may not even be accurate, they're saying, particularly if they make a living promoting sponsored products, obviously. And nutritionists or sports dietitians are better, and there's apps. MyFitnessPal is a good app.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do, a lot of programs.
Don't fixate on whether your heart rate is in zone 2 is another one. And they mentioned someone I look up to here. In recent years, everyone from running influencers to Andrew Huberman has claimed that low-intensity zone 2 training might be the secret to better fitness. Zone 2 refers to the second of 5 heart rate zones, which range from a relaxed effort to your maximum intensity. Now, Andrew Huberman is a scientist that is extremely knowledgeable and has the credentials to back it. His laboratory produces the best research out there. So when you put someone like, it's like saying Einstein didn't know what he was talking about.
Right.
So anyways, this I'm not going to read any more of this article.
But I think it's so silly. Like, again, this is that pendulum swing to the other side where they go, don't look at your stats. You don't need to, that doesn't matter.
Don't worry
It
about what
does
the research
matter.
shows. Don't worry about the data. Don't worry about the type of exercise you do. Don't worry about what the experts eat. Don't worry about what the famous celebrity or bodybuilders ate to diet down to a certain weight or any of that stuff. If it worked for them,
Right.
get the information. I mean, don't follow them in a negative way.
But tracking is a part of knowing what you've done, if it's worked or not. So if you don't know what your heart rate is when you're working out, if you don't know what your macros are that you're taking in, if you don't know how much weight you lifted in the gym, how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? You can't. Like, that's all a part of it. Like, we can look back 4 years ago and see what our weight was, what our lean muscle mass was, what we were lifting, because we've tracked a lot of that. You've tracked it a lot longer than I have, but that matters. Like, I can go back and go 2 years ago, what was my weight? Right around here. And I could actually see where are my trends in, going up or down. That's important because that's how you can break cycles. That's how you can break out of plateaus. So that's so weird that they say that. So
Yeah, I mean, if we knew this author's fitness level, then maybe we could, I think she's just looking at, sometimes you write things that people want to read,
right,
as opposed to sometimes you write things that people don't want to read, but they need to read.
right.
This is one of those where it just feels good to read and you're like, oh, okay, that's all I'll do. I'll just go, walk for 15 minutes every day and I'll call that exercise because I enjoy that.
Right.
I can eat whatever I want. Well, there's a little something here about CrossFit since we're talking about exercise. This article says that CrossFit is for sale again amid years of shakeups. CrossFit, the crisis-riddled fitness company, is for sale once again. The sale comes against the backdrop of several tumultuous years for the fitness brand after a drowning at last year's CrossFit Games, a significant drop in registrations for its annual membership-wide competition, and deepening financial concerns. The company, which has 10,000 affiliate gyms across the world, plans to review a wide range of buyers, according to an email sent to CrossFit gym owners this week. So someone died last year in a CrossFit in a worldwide famous CrossFit competition.
Which is sad, but I go, why is that on CrossFit?
I don't think, and I don't think that
I
I
need
think
some
they've
background
been
on that.
declining for a while. CrossFit was created
It
in
was
the
a trend.
It was created in the 1990s by Greg Glassman, a former gymnast and personal trainer, as a training program focused on varied high-intensity workouts. The regimen exploded in popularity in the 2000s, growing to include more than 14,000 affiliate gyms worldwide. In 2020, Mr. Glassman stepped down from his role after he was excoriated for his comments about the murder of George Floyd. He also faced accusations of harassment, which he denied. He sold the company to Berkshire Partners, a Boston-based investment firm, and Eric Rosa, a technology entrepreneur and CrossFit gym owner. Then last year, Lazar Dukic, a 28-year-old Serbian athlete, drowned during a swimming portion of a workout at the CrossFit Games, an international competition that draws some of the world's fittest competitors. The games resumed the next day. So I guess they're saying that since someone died in the competition, they should have canceled all the games. They shouldn't have resumed the next day. It's what it seems like it's hinting at. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. But many members and affiliates have tried to distance themselves from CrossFit's reputation of recent years while still maintaining its popular fitness routines, dropping the company's name from their businesses.
Interesting.
So a lot of gyms are still doing CrossFit, but they're not called CrossFit anymore. So they don't have to pay, because there's an annual fee they pay of, I believe, $4,500. Actually, yeah, it was $3,000. Then they raised it last year to $4,500 a year annual fee.
To use the name.
Yeah, and then they also get paid for certification. So they have to, if you become a gym owner, they certify. You have to pay to be certified in CrossFit as an instructor. So and they dropped from 14,000 affiliate gyms to just under 10,000 now, which is it's a big drop. That's almost 1/3, and their profit is 15 million, or was when they were at their peak. They had $100 million in revenue and 15 million in profit.
Wow.
So, and I calculated that's roughly they collect about 7,000 and change per location.
Interesting. It's just fascinating, though.
Either way, if you guys are looking to buy a large company, that would be one to buy. Well, there you have it. Fitness trends that experts don't like, but I don't know who her expert is. And then
Because she also mentioned we didn't talk about cold plunges.
Right.
And there's good research that talks about how cold plunges can be rejuvenating for the body, can have healing properties. But of course, that one they glided right over and said there's not enough information. I'm like, it depends on who you ask.
Right. Well, I mean, the fact that she doesn't consider Andrew Huberman an expert,
that should be one.
And what her credentials are, where is she? She doesn't have any letters after her name. So she's a journalist.
Yeah.
Writing an opinion column.
Right.
Thank you very much. Anyways, so, her advice was don't follow the so-called experts. She's one of them. And
I would follow some of the experts.
Yeah, especially Andrew Huberman.
Yeah.
Come on, the guy knows what he's talking about. Like Gary Brecka. A lot of people say bad things about Gary Brecka because all he has is a Bachelor of Science in Human Biology, which is actually the same degree that I have from the same university.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
You guys have the same alma mater.
That's right. Either way, guys, thanks for joining us. I hope you found some benefit in what we talked about, especially women's health. It's a big deal. We need to be healthy. We need to live a long life, and we need to increase our health span, not our lifespan.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
if hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully we gave you some things. But tune in next time. We will dive deep into some of the other things we talked about. I have a great article on melatonin, and it blew my mind because I didn't know some of the things I'm reading in this article. So stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.